Remember Blake Griffin? No, not Detroit Blake Griffin. I'm talking about the dunk on anybody.
On the Griffin screen, pick, roll, slam dunk!
Stand-up comedian.
Tear away my tear away pants. One flick of the wrist, it's time to dance.
Fun Blake Griffin. What happened to that guy? Actually, while doing research, he still does some of the stand-up.
I want to thank you for giving your daughters their daddy issues.
But I had no idea, because all I see now is this miserable looking dude. And even that's going away. Blake Griffin has had yet another knee surgery. It's not necessarily season ending, though some reports say it could be. Either way, the same franchise of the 80s bad boys and the decade of dominance in the 2000s is in maybe the biggest mess in the NBA. In this video, we'll explain how they got there, where Blake Griffin's contract ranks among the worst in the league, and the three options the Pistons have going forward. Hey guys, it's Casey Kiernan, host of the AM Hoops YouTube channel. We are growing this channel. Please hit subscribe because every sub counts. We're coming out with 3 weekly videos, quality videos here on the channel. Also, hit me up on Instagram at AM Hoops and over on Twitter, my personal Twitter at Casey Kiernan. So to dig into why Detroit is basically screwed, we have to revisit the Blake Griffin trade. At the time, in January of 2018, Blake was one of the most explosive, versatile forwards in the game. He was a former #1 overall pick and Rookie of the Year. Only Blake, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Garnett, Larry Bird, and Oscar Robertson averaged these numbers between 25 and 28 years old. He was kind of a big deal. And he was also in the first year of a big deal contract. He had just signed for 5 years, $171 million for the Clippers. At the time, LA pitched him with his jersey being retired as a Clipper. Employees even wore this shirt that had Blake with the word pioneer alongside people like Martin Luther King and Gandhi. Then they traded him 6 months later. That is one of the coldest moves of all time. And for an injury-prone Blake Griffin and 2 lesser players, the Pistons gave up Tobias Harris, Avery Bradley, soon-to-be MVP Boban Marjanovic, just kidding, and a first-round pick. Not kidding, that became Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oh my goodness, that is a ton. We can easily say the Clippers won that trade. They flipped some of it into the Paul George deal, which also netted them Kawhi Leonard. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has developed into a surefire future All-Star, and Tobias Harris has played so well that he signed a 5-year, $180 million deal with Philly. And this leaves Detroit with a pretty good what if. We love what ifs in sports. The NBA are full of them. What if the Trailblazers or Rockets had drafted Michael Jordan? What if OKC hadn't broken up their big three? How about this for Detroit? What if they had not made the Blake Griffin trade? Well, let's see. Just for Tobias Harris, the Clippers got Landry Shamet and 2 first-round picks from Philly. That would be pretty good for a rebuild. Speaking of rebuild, let's say they drafted SGA. You think he'd come in handy with how Reggie Jackson looks right now? Oh, and then there's the cap flexibility that they would have with Blake Griffin's deal not on their books. Oh no, instead, they gave up all that for an injury-riddled star who was already 28 years old. Why would anyone make that risk? The answer to that is also the answer to why we're seeing fewer and fewer coach/GMs in the NBA. At the time, Stan Van Gundy was in the 4th year of a 5-year deal, and the Pistons had started 22-26. To save the future of Coach Van Gundy, GM Van Gundy gambled on the team's future. Now, to be fair, owner Tom Gores had to sign off on this. You could argue this is all as much his fault as it is Van Gundy. But Gores hired Van Gundy to be the basketball guy. He was trusting him to do his job, and isn't that what we want from our team owners? Not to meddle in personnel decisions. Either way, they took the gamble, and so far the gamble has gone bust. That first half season when they traded for Blake, Detroit missed the playoffs, Van Gundy was fired anyway, and the Pistons hired Dwayne Casey as head coach, Ed Stefanski as GM. Last year, the first full season with Blake Griffin, he played great. All-star great. 3rd team All-NBA. They barely made the postseason on the last day, and they were swept. And what's worse, Blake missed 2 of their 4 playoff games with a knee injury. He had meniscus surgery this last offseason, and now yet another knee surgery, out indefinitely. But through all this crap, Blake Griffin has been a real professional. I mean, if you're a Pistons fan, you don't blame Blake here. At first you could tell he was upset, rightfully so, but eventually he became a leader in that locker room. He became an all-star again, but his health has let him down. Instead, Pistons fans should blame the people running this team. Stan Van Gundy not only made that Griffin trade that doomed the franchise's near future, he also had $80 million tied up in Griffin, Reggie Jackson, Andre Drummond, and backup big man John Lure at the time. How's anyone gonna contend with that? Oh, and in the draft, they took Luke Kennard in 2017, one pick ahead of Donovan Mitchell. In 2016, Henry Ellenson, who's already flamed out. In 2015, Stanley Johnson, 8th overall. And they straight up cut 2014 draft pick Spencer Dinwiddie. This offseason, the current regime did their best with what they had. They signed Derrick Rose and Markieff Morris to add depth and some scoring ability. And the Pistons started off as one of the best three-point shooting teams in the NBA. Right from the start, everything had to go perfect for this Pistons team, for that Griffin contract to not look like an albatross. Instead, everything has gone wrong. Reggie Jackson hasn't played since the second game of this year. Derrick Rose has been on a minutes restriction, he's had health issues, and now Blake Griffin is done for the foreseeable future. So things are looking bleak in the Motor City, but I see three options for them going forward. Option number one, reset. To do this, Detroit would have to trade Blake Griffin. To do that, reports say they would have to attach an asset or two, which would further mortgage their future. Blake's contract is one of the worst in the NBA. He's owed $34.2 million this year, $36.6 million next year, and has a $38.9 million player option the year after that. Yeah, that would paralyze a franchise until 2022. At this point, the truth is Blake Griffin is an injury-prone guy past his prime. His contract ranks right up there with the worst in the NBA. Here are the top 5 worst as I see them. I did not include any expiring contracts like Chandler Parsons. The number 5 worst is Kevin Love. He signed a 4-year, $120 million deal in 2018. He's 30 years old, upside fading fast. Number 4 worst is Nicholas Batum. He signed a 5-year, $120 million deal in 2016. Dude gets top 3 money, but plays like a 6th man at best. The number 3 worst deal, Chris Paul. He signed a 4-year, $160 million deal in 2018. I know he's playing better, but he's gonna be 36 years old, getting paid $44 million. The number 2 worst contract is Blake Griffin. He signed that 5-year, $171 million deal in 2018. Injuries may have stolen the end of his prime, at least that's what it looks like. But even Blake's contract doesn't pass the worst in the NBA, the John Wall contract for the Wizards. His 4-year, $170 million deal took effect here in 2019-2020. Injuries also could steal the end of his prime. Depends on athleticism and quick twitch, and he's coming off an Achilles tear. So as you can see, option 1 and hitting the reset button will be pretty tough. Option number 2, competitive. This plan involves keeping Blake and hoping for the best health-wise. Around him, the Pistons signed veterans this summer on short-term deals and hope to contend for a playoff spot. Andre Drummond will likely test free agency. With his and Reggie Jackson's money off the books, Detroit can try to do what the Knicks did this summer, sign vets to short deals. With this plan, they could hover around competitive until Blake's deal comes off the books summer of 2022. The issue with this plan, it makes them mediocre, which means mediocre draft picks. And option number 3, go for it. This option includes also keeping Blake Griffin and banking on his return to health. Then, with all this cap space, they try to entice bigger name free agents with long-term deals. Names out there include Montrezl Harrell, Brandon Ingram, Fred VanVleet, Gordon Hayward if he opts out, or their own guy, Andre Drummond, although it looks like they are ready to see him walk. This would be the Pistons really attempting to catch lightning in a bottle with chemistry and contend in the East. This all assuming they could even get some of those guys. The issue here is, instead of rebuilding the team when Blake's deal comes off the books, Detroit would have their future locked in. If you're a Pistons fan or just an NBA fan, let me know in the comments which option would you want to see this team go for. Option 1, reset. Option 2, compete. Or option 3, go for it. None of them are very pretty options. Again, the Blake Griffin deal has put them in a basketball nightmare. But with this latest injury news, it looks like that Blake Griffin trade less than 2 years ago may have doomed the near future for this team. Support AM Hoops and click subscribe. Don't miss a weekly NBA video.